I'm Kamali, taking you through the stories people are talking about and sharing around the world on NewsFeed today. Oh boy, USA, it's been a bad week for you guys. We rubbed some salt into the wound. She's in her 20s and has a $100 million fortune. Kylie Jenner makes the Forbes women who made their own paper rich list. First God was stupid, now he says sorry. President Duterte shows how basic he is when it comes to religion. And Thursday, and we go back to the fluff challenge because why not? It's animals doing stuff. Now, top of our news feed, the US has a problem with race. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but what we're about to show you reveals just how that racism is not always black versus white. It's such a pernicious force in that country, made rich on the subjugation of black people, and now led by a man who has questionable racial politics, that xenophobia goes through every strata of society. Exhibit A. This is 92-year-old Rodolfo Rodriguez. He was left blooded after a woman called LaQuisha Jones knocked him to the ground, smashed him in the face with a brick, and told him to go back to his own country. This is her, and she's now been arrested. And just a couple of days ago, this happened in a park in Cook County, Illinois.
Well, what's your point, sir?
My point is, why are you wearing that?
Because I can. Officer, can you please? I'm renting this area, and he's harassing me about the shirt that I'm wearing. Please, officer.
Now, this drunk clown xenophobically abuses a woman in a park for wearing a Puerto Rico flag, and a police officer does nothing to stop it. Now, that officer has now been suspended, and the park where it happened have said sorry. And just for the record, Puerto Rico is a US territory. People born there are US citizens.
We got another police officer after I showed her my key and walked up here and tried to kick me out of my own goddamn pool.
And this video has gone viral of a man sitting by a pool in a complex he's a member of being asked to leave by the cops and the complex management. This is now in there with barbecuing while black. We now have sitting around a pool while black. And there are a couple of threads to pull out here that pull these incidents together. The US is becoming a more divided society. It's reported that there has been a 17% increase in hate crimes in the US since 2016. That's the year Trump got elected. And the other thread is social media. We'd have never seen all these things had it not been for camera phones and the internet and people sharing their experience. The question for the ages is, have there been more of these incidents, or does it just seem there are more because we see them more? Thoughts in the comments, please. And the US president is on a European tour like the worst sequel ever to National Lampoon's Vacation. He's already made a scene of himself at NATO, now he's going to the UK. And there's not only an angry movement who do not want him there at all, there are also plans afoot to have a very apt song become #1 while he's on the shores of dear old Blighty. Interesting visits. Now, Forbes magazine have released a rich list with a twist. This one compiles the 60 richest self-made women in the United States. Top of the list is Diane Hendricks. She's the chairperson and co-founder of a company called ABC Supply. Next up is Marian. She co-founded the delicious global pizza chain Little Caesars. Thanks, Marian. She also owns the Detroit Red Wings hockey team. And third is Judy Faulkner, who founded a medical software firm called Epic back in 1979. She's also said that she will give 99% of her fortune to philanthropic causes during her lifetime. And of honourable mention is Miss Oprah Winfrey, who went from talk show host to actress to creating her own TV network to now being a serious contender to run for president one day. And now the one on the list that caught the newsfeeder's eye the most, not just because she's on the cover, is Miss Kylie Jenner. Now she's in her 20s and has amassed a fortune of $800 million thanks to her cosmetics line, Kylie Cosmetics. Now she is the archetypal social media influencer. People watch, follow, commiserate, take pleasure and despair in each and every up and down of her life because she lets us. Through her ability to leverage the social media and her deep understanding of Generation Zers, she's made a huge fortune. Yes, she is part of the Kardashian clan, but Kylie, the youngest, has dwarfed her older brothers and sisters in the money-making stakes. And who can hate? Well, the internet. But who listens to that anyway? Well, let's take a look at what else is trending on social media. Now, the guy who created the Papa John's pizza, John Shanatta, has said sorry after he used the N-word during a conference call with his senior management team. People were boycotting his company anyway because he refused to back NFL players taking a knee to protest police brutality. Looks like he may lose even more customers now. It's a shame. The pizza was never that great, always a bit greasy for my liking. And who is this for? One of the many questions the internet has been asking this week, and it's led to a bunch of memes like this one. Now, who does Drake make music for? Answer: emotionally manipulative men. Ooh, burn. And this one, director Chris Nolan. Who does he make movies for? Answer: people who look up ending explained videos for every movie they watched. There are plenty of those heads on the NewsFeed team. And this one is deep. Who does Riri make music for? Girls who say, "Ah, thank you," when a boy says, "I love you." She's a boss. Now, it is not coming home, but they are. They being the England team, and about time. They'd overperformed and were well beaten by a better side. Now, France will play Croatia before Les Bleus collect the World Cup in Moscow on Sunday. And because England fans are not the brightest bunch, they did this when their team scored early on. Should have saved the drinks, lads. Now you'll go home wet, depressed and thirsty. Goodbye, and thank you for the memories. And someone also did this to a Kiwi reporter while doing his job. But in Zagreb, it was a different story. A team made up of experienced professionals from a country of just 4 million are now in the World Cup final, and big up to them. Congratulations, enjoy the game, watch out for Mbappe. Rodrigo Duterte, president of the Philippines, misogynist and unbeliever. Well, the last one is up for dispute after his latest comments. Now, he called God stupid a week or so ago and has now tried to clarify and clear up what he said. But I don't know about you, I don't think he quite achieves it.
Sorry, God. I said, sorry, God.
Some are saying you should apologize for the comment.
No, I will not do that. Definitely. Not in a million years.
Pero I only apologize to God. Nobody else. If I wrong God, He would be happy to listen to me. Why? Because my God is all for me.
All right, let's go around the world for some other stories you need to know this Thursday. A gruesome video of the execution of the family of suspected militants by Cameroonian soldiers will be investigated by the Cameroonian government. The people were accused of being part of the terror group Boko Haram. A social media tax in Uganda is now being reviewed. We told you a while back that the government in Kampala was planning on putting a 5-cent tax on all use of social media. They said it was to stop gossip. But after protests, the government say they will now review the policy. And we've reported that Twitter is killing off 1 million fake accounts a day, and now they're getting rid of locked accounts so you can be certain the person you're engaging with is real and not a Russian or Chinese-made bot. So you may see your follower count going down. Now work, we all love it. Job satisfaction, good colleagues, the list can go on. There's a great saying here in Turkish that goes something like "Çalışan demir pas tutmaz," which I'm told roughly translates as "the working iron never rusts." So get on with the job and you'll be fine. Or will you? Have a look at this.
Imagine you left a few minutes early for your lunch break, and this was your employer's response. A televised press conference to apologize for your, quote, regrettable act. Well, that's really what happened to a 64-year-old man working in Japan's Waterworks Bureau. It's not a secret that Japan has an unforgiving job culture. They even have a concept called karoshi, which means death by overworking. But does this much work work? Do long hours equal higher productivity? And how hard should we really work? First, let's take a look at why we have an 8-hour workday to begin with. It seems that it all started with the Industrial Revolution. In the late 18th century, factories needed employees working almost 24/7 to maximize their output, and the 10 to 16-hour workday became standard. But then Robert Owen, a Welsh textile manufacturer and utopian socialist, came along and suggested the 8-hour workday, with a campaign saying, 8 hours labor, 8 hours recreation, 8 hours rest. And not much later, Henry Ford implemented the idea, which meant a steep rise in productivity and impacted how other companies put people to work. But famous economist John Maynard Keynes believed even the 40-hour work week wouldn't last forever. In 1930, he predicted that by today, we would only be working 15 hours a week, assuming that humanity would have essentially overcome the economic problems of scarcity. Although it is true that we globally have more wealth than we had in the past, but the situation is far from Keynes' predictions. So how long should we work for maximum productivity? Is there a magic number? A lot of research has gone into answering this question, and it's hard to say what's an ideal number for working hours as people vary. But there is something that these researchers agree on. Long work hours are often counterproductive, and many times lead to terrible results such as burnouts, high stress, psychological, and even physical problems. What really matters when it comes to productivity is managing energy rather than time. As the famous author Tony Schwartz says, we actually have 4 different types of energy to manage every day. Physical energy, referring to how healthy we are. Emotional energy, how happy we are. Mental energy, our power to focus on something. And finally, spiritual energy, namely why we are actually working, our main purpose. So to be truly productive, it is crucial to manage our energy and our attention. As researchers have found, brains can't focus on a task for more than a few hours at a time. Similarly, some small Swedish tech companies are experimenting with a 6-hour workday. And for the past 2 years, they've reported that this strategy resulted in happier and healthier workers and no loss in production. A different survey in 2016 says that an average UK employee works for only about 3 hours over the course of an 8-hour workday. The rest of the time is spent doing other things, like eating, socializing, or reading the news. Meanwhile, long working hours have other costs as well, like the expenses of running an office, or machinery, or other stuff such as heating, lights, and ventilation. So again, the research seems to show that working long hours doesn't necessarily give better results for any business. But is the corporate world prepared or willing to make a change?
And here we are again with more of the fluff challenge. That's when owners trick their dogs into thinking they've disappeared. Well, now it's police dogs, and they're meant to be super smart. But it turns out they fall for the same trick too, hence this hilarious collection of videos we put together with music by Ezra. And that is your lot from the NewsFeed team. Do reach out to us with your questions, comments, complaints and suggestions. I'm at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on Twitter, YouTube and Facebook. Follow, subscribe and add. See you again soon.